Welcome, everybody. We are here. A new episode of Crypt Ricks I've Been Thinking, but this is called What Have You Been Thinking? And we got my guest here, my co host now. Cass, how are you doing today, Cass? We had fun last night doing our little test one.
We did. We did.
Yeah. I mean, now I forgot to bring up my chat, so I'm going to have to rely on trying to read the chat on that little screen in front of me. Because, of course, I
Uh,
forgot.
of course. That's
Yeah.
okay.
But you can, yeah,
Can't
I'll
be.
get that next time, guys. Give me a break here. We're learning as I go here. So, how have you been, Cass? What's going on in Australia? Give me the goods.
Oh, I am wonderful as always, my friend.
That's
Right side
awesome.
of the soil, sun is shining. What more could you ask for?
Exactly. Right, right. Yeah, it's good here too. I mean, the weather. I keep giving you my daily updates on the weather, and one day here it's beautiful sunshine, and then I'll get snow, and
Hmm.
then the next day it rains on me for 3 days, and all of that good stuff. So the weather here, because it's spring, and my wife keeps reminding me that this is very normal weather, uh, for this time of year. But it's getting better. I always give people an update on my weather because I am so ready for spring, and
You scare me. You scare me. You tell me you've got snow. I don't do snow. It's too cold.
it is too cold. I agree. I don't do snow either. I wish I didn't have it. I wish I had a choice not to do snow, but it went away quickly. I mean, like it was pretty. It kind of melted right when it hit the ground, but still, waking up and seeing snowflakes at this time of year, I was just like, this is crazy. Like winter is just really, and I think a lot of it has to do with the geoengineering that they're doing. That I'm sure you see. Do you see that I've always wanted to ask you that, and I never have, and I've never asked Jamie either. Do you guys see that in your skies, like the crisscrossing, the patterns?
Absolutely. It's horrendous over here. We've had the East Coast has been hit with massive, massive amounts of rainfall and flooding in the last month or so, and it's directly tied to it.
Right.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, because I've never asked you guys that, and I know here all summer I can watch them, and I'm usually up pretty early in the morning. I like getting up when the sun's going up, and I feed all the critters outside. I got a whole slew of animals that I feed in my backyard, and I watch them. Like I'll get up in the morning and it'll be a completely blue skies out there, not a cloud to be seen or anything, and then I see them planes start going overhead, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for hours, and they just happen to be doing it right where the sun is. And then by the mid morning, it's like this soup up in the sky. Like I'm sure that's what you guys see too, and
Yep.
it's really having an effect on my gardening and stuff like that. Believe it or not, guys, I do garden. I don't do it well. I'm learning, but uh, I've noticed a big difference even in 3 years from the amount of spraying that they're doing and the growth in my gardens and stuff like that. It's really making a big difference. Whatever they're doing up there is affecting everything down here for sure.
Yep. Absolutely. They different chemicals. It just builds up and builds up, and it stunts everything.
Yep.
That's the best way I can put it. Where we are, we don't have a lot of garden. It's just, to be honest, too bloody hot.
Yep.
Um, most
You
things
just
up
got a
here in
lot
the
of
north
dirt. You
are
got a lot
hotter.
of dirt where you are.
Yes, we do a lot. Red. But down in the south, and I know South Australia is having big issues. One of our regular watchers, he struggles a lot with it. He sends me photos all the time of the engineering going on over there. And with the East Coast, there's there's plans over there for a new high-speed rail and smart cities. You know, this all connected that they're putting in place now across the world.
Right.
And funnily enough, the areas right along that rail line have been absolutely demolished by rain and houses deemed unlivable and not rebuildable. Insurance companies won't go near them. And it's a little bit convenient because now the government's offering to buy back and do free assessments.
Really?
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Jesus.
well and truly contrived. And it also cocoincided with shutting down the rallies and the protests in Canberra and Newcastle.
Yes, you're
So they're very,
right. I was thinking
yep.
during the Ottawa protest how the weather really changed near the end of it. They were really dropping the temperatures and the putting some really harsh weather out there. And I've noticed over the years the weather getting really crazy, at least where I live. And I know that it has something like the amount of research I've done on it. They're doing something up there. And what's really weird too is I've noticed over the years because we have a lot of trees in my yard, And I'm noticing that the side where the sun is coming, the side where it rises, the west, right? Am I right? I always get
Yep.
that backwards. Yeah.
In the
Uh,
east. In the east.
right. And the side where the sun comes up, all the bark is burning on that side of the tree, not burning on the other side, but on this. And it's only been happening over the last 3 years. I noticed it, and
Yeah.
I go to parking lots around town, and now I'm
Yeah.
looking. Now people must think I'm crazy. Like, look, I'm walking around looking at trees, and they're probably like, "What is this guy doing?" But I'm looking at the bark, and it's burnt. It's burning the bark right off the side of the trees, and it's only the side where the sun rises up, and it's at and then
That's
until it hits high noon, and then the side where it's setting, you're not getting that direct sunlight on it. But
that's crazy.
yep,
That obviously, yeah, whatever they're applying, it's weakening the structures,
yep.
which makes sense because it's designed to alter the physicals.
Right, right. And then like, was it Earth Day for you guys yesterday? I know here it was Earth Day a day ago,
Oh,
and they were having
I don't know.
it's a holiday. I mean, I'm sure maybe guys in chat let me know, but I know that people were celebrating Earth Day at least in my neck of the woods, and I was getting a little upset when I was talking to people about Earth Day because I like leave it to humanity to make a holiday for something so serious, right? Like Earth Day, and I keep telling people every day should be Earth Day. I mean, I don't understand why. Okay, so people on Earth Day, they have a holiday, they go plant a tree, they plant a couple flowers, and they think they've done something, maybe pick up a little bit of garbage, and they think they've done a great thing for the earth. And I got a little upset because I was like, I'm like that every day. And I
Yep,
respect Mother Nature, and I'm very in tune with it. And I see the destruction that we're doing, and I'm just like, why do you need a holiday to be aware of what we're doing to the earth? Every day should be Earth Day.
it should be. We've lost our connection to nature,
Oh,
our connection
100%.
to
Yep.
whole. Um, and that actually goes hand in hand with the other work that you've been doing and what the work I've been doing. Um, I ground myself, like literally shoes off in the sand
Mm-hmm.
and just breathe. Take the air bath, just let the sun soak in
Mm-hmm.
and just connect with the nature. And the feeling of being in tune, it just leads you to that. You look at things with a different eye instead of just
Yep.
a tree to walk around. You actually look at it as the living being that it is.
Yep.
So,
I
mm,
agree, and then when you become aware of it, at least for me, I became very aware of it. I always have been actually. So, like I said, that's why I noticed the bark burning on the one side of the tree, which I've been documenting with photos and that, which I will show someday on one of our shows here. I'll actually upload them and show you what I'm talking about. It's really when you see it, that's when it really hits you. Like, wow, like it's really something's going on where it's getting so hot out, the sun's getting so hot that it's starting to burn bark off of trees, and it's a very noticeable thing, and I don't think a lot of people take the time to even notice these things, right? Like, I mean, as you said, a lot of people are not very in tune with nature, and I always tell people, we're supposed to be living in what's the word for it,
harmony.
yeah, harmony is a good one. So, like, are we living in harmony with nature as as a species, as in the aggregate, all of us? I'm not saying individually, but as a species, are we living in harmony with nature? Or are we parasitic on this earth? And I've always said that humanity is parasitic. We're
Yep,
destroying it
yep,
daily.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's a blight that at this point it's gone too far.
Yep.
I think we're at a point now as human society, as a collective, where it's just gone way beyond way beyond salvage.
Yep.
Does that make any sense?
Yep.
Everyone's so addicted to the concept of, oh, go to the shop to get my food. I've got to go to work to get the money to pay for this and do this and do this. And it's all about the material, not about the collective, not the collective, the
Connection.
just the being in tune with everything.
Yep.
So,
And,
as Ryan's just said in the chat, no one walks around barefoot anymore.
oh, exactly.
And
Well, yeah.
well, I tell you what, I do. The only time I have shoes on, and hopefully none of my customers see this, is if I'm in mud or walking around on rocks. I get into the car and the shoes live in the car. I don't even take them in the house anymore unless I'm heading out over the cultural patch.
Right. Right.
In here, in the office, in the laundry, no, not a chance. My feet are as red as the dirt outside behind me, mind you, constantly.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well,
something that
it's by design, like they do not want people connecting in that way. In my and I see it when you see it, it's so clear, and they don't. They're driving people away and do not want people. Well, a they don't. I got things popping up here. Hold on a second here. All right, get down. Okay, there we go. So,
I
anyways,
pretend to be a cat.
yeah, well, that's okay. I mean, I can actually read the chat. So, I mean, for the little chat that I see in front of me, so that's good. I can kind of see it. It's good that you're reading it out, though. And
Yeah,
but yeah, they're definitely designing it where they do not want people connecting
no,
with nature, especially even with themselves, right? They don't want people doing the inner work, and I'm very big on talking about that. I call it shadow work, which is where you have to do the work on yourself before you can do any work on the outside and affect other. People have to start addressing the problems that they have and dealing with them, and that's why I call it shadow work. It's the places that these things that affect your life that you don't even realize it. That's where they hide.
yep,
And I think and I know that's why they have all these distractions. They got, TV, they got internet, they got all these things to distract people and not give them the time to settle down because I mean, let's face it, Cass, they got you working 20, some people work 12 hours, 15 hours a day. I mean, how you come home, you're exhausted. You have no time to do that introspection on yourself and the work on yourself. You certainly don't have time to be out in nature very much. And so
mhm,
I know that that's by design. They don't want people a connecting with nature, b connecting with other people. They're starting to do that. It's great that we can do this. We can talk like this. You're in Australia, I'm in Canada, but there's nothing
it's
like
true.
talk. Yeah, there's nothing like talking in person, right? In person's a huge thing, and nobody does that anymore. They have no, with especially over the last 2 years with what's happened. People are losing their skills to even
Yep,
talk to people in person.
because even this is a rarity to actually sit face to face
Mm-hmm.
through the computer, obviously. But to even do this is rare. Like I very rarely do it.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time I text people or type.
Yeah.
Simply, I've got a couple of different reasons. I'm an empath, and being around other people constantly really, really affects me and drags me down.
Okay.
So
So you kind
I've
of
got to keep.
explain that like empath, kind of the people that don't know what that is, or
I
like do you
tune
feel
in
people, like you feel their energy, they drain, like how does it work? I've heard that you guys can get drained very quickly because
yes,
people can
yep,
drain your energy and you got to be very careful around certain people. I know maybe I'm that way in a little ways. I have a few people that if I'm around them for any amount of time, even 20 minutes, when they leave, I'm so exhausted because
yep.
I call them energy vampires. There's no other word for it. It's kind of a funny thing to say, but they
Yeah,
do it. I know people that can do it to me. I can be in a great mood and feeling great, and then after a half an hour with these people, it's like, oh my god, I need a nap. Like they just suck the energy out of you. So is that what you're talking about? How you get affected?
yep. That's a big part of it. Like if I walk into say a shopping centre and all the people around me, just the constant barrage of energy, and I sense a lot of it is just innate sense. I can't explain it any better than that. It's what I do. The barrage, it's like being slammed with baseball bats constantly. Like yeah, it's horrendous at sometimes when you get a high energy group of people around you. It's like being bashed up. It's quite awful.
Wow, yeah.
But you take it. I take it in. I can't. I have trouble shaking it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for me, it's really, really draining to do one-on-one constantly with people. So for me, this is heaven sent.
Oh yeah, for sure. I can imagine. Like, and you have to read chats to me, or if there's anything, Cass. Like, just keep an eye on it, please. Sorry, guys. I
Yeah,
will have a bigger chat window up next week. And thank you guys for joining us. We did a test run last night, which was fun. I have to admit, Cass and I were figuring out all the little quirks and all of that, and it was kind of fun. And uh,
kind of fun,
it
hilarious.
it was hilarious. Yeah, I was stumbling around and trying to figure things out for sure. But we're here, so I mean it's great. I'm happy that people are joining us. That's amazing. Thank you guys. But
It is.
I can
And
imagine.
sorry, while we're talking to the chat room, anybody who's got anything that they want us to talk about or they want to throw in 2 cents, by all means. So as you can see, we've got your chat coming up. on the output.
There you go.
Um, yep, but you're more than welcome to throw something in, and I've got the chat right next to you, so we'll talk about it as we go.
Yeah, you're the multitasker. You got like four. You can have four chats going and two screens going, and not.
Mhm.
I'm not there yet. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. But the watching the chat is new. Like I usually I'm not too because I do my pre-shows pre-recorded, so I'm not really worried about a chat. So I do think it's really cool that we can interact though with people. I really enjoy
Yeah,
doing that, and you guys got a great chat too on your show. So I really enjoy the people on there and talking with them. And but yeah, like I'm just thinking about that. I can see why you don't like being in groups of people. Then if that's the effect that you're getting, and I'm a big person too that chat like text a lot of people. I don't like texting though, Cass, because you don't get no emotion with it, right? And to
true.
me, facial expressions, tone, and all of that. When you're doing a text, I mean, think of how many texts get misinterpreted
Yep.
because there's no feeling behind it. To me, it's like I call it a dead language because to me, there's nothing behind it, and we're definitely missing that. And now we got people wearing masks over their face for the last 2 years, which I think is going to have huge psychological ramifications for the kids, especially, but even for adults, because you figure for it's been 2 years now, some places even longer, where people have had their face covered. And how do you judge people when you talk? You're looking at their face, right? Facial expressions and
Hmm.
stuff, and you
Yeah.
cover that. I know there's going to be some damage that's going to last with especially children having to
Yes,
wear that. What do you think about that?
I agree. And if you look at the babies that have been born in this era, you think of a child that was 1 2 years old at the start of it.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost that whole interactive learning from outside people. So they see mum, they see dad and siblings, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but they've lost that outside interaction, and it's all covered. It's it's all planned. Yeah. Anyway, we'll
No,
stay
I
away from
agree.
that concept.
Yeah,
But yeah, you're right. The psychological damage, I think, is pretty much irreversible for some.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
And I see like especially at the beginning when I saw parents putting the mask on their children and the kids trying to rip it off and they were freaking out and crying, and I was just like, there's gonna be this is not good, and especially for such a long time. So I always wonder, like, what are we gonna see down the road, and what's gonna like how is this affecting people and children and adults? I mean, it's not a natural state to be in
no,
like we have been for the last 2 years. There's nothing natural about it. So, and I got to be careful what we say on here, as everyone knows. So I don't want to go too deep into it, but people know what we're talking about, and
yeah,
it's just not a
yeah.
natural state to be in.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not. Had I guess the easiest way to put it, we went as a society, we went from you couldn't wear a bike helmet into a bank or a shop or
That's true.
a service station,
Good point.
fuel station. Two, you can't go in without half your face being covered and being half anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
So in a town this size, it's not so bad because there's not a lot of people who are here permanently. So you've either got the ones that you don't know that they're uniformed up, so to speak, and then you've got everybody knows at least half of the rest of the town. But for the bigger cities, that's a massive security risk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised that it hasn't been taken advantage of, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. Yep. I mean, yeah. I mean, can you imagine like 3 years ago if you were going to tell you that if you want to go into a bank, you have to wear a mask? People would be like, "What?
I know, right?
That doesn't make any sense." And I'm just thinking, like, well, but that's the world. The world, like, I don't even recognize it anymore half the time when I go out in public, like, and I'm just very observant and stuff.
Yep.
And I was telling people, like, even though we've had our mask mandates lifted here probably for about a month, I could be wrong, guys, exactly how long, but it's been a while, and there's
Yep.
still people wearing the mask even when they're outside by themselves and stuff. So I'm thinking, we're up against a really uh, very dangerous, in my opinion. The social engineers that we're up against, they have humanity pegged, and
Yep.
we have like, and I don't think people realize that they have really. And yeah, I hear you say that a lot of times on the show with Jamie too, is that nothing happens without them knowing about it and allowing it to happen. So I always know that this is a bigger agenda they're after from the start. I knew that within the first week. I saw what they
Yeah.
were doing, and the fear that they were putting out, and it worked. It really
Hmm.
worked on people.
Yeah, it's psychological operation. It's been very, very well executed. So, we're about to enter, we're still on the mandates here. Mandate. Mandate is not law. However, explaining that to normal people is like smacking your head against a wall. Um, it's extremely frustrating. Um, but over here, like in Western Australia specifically, we're still under the McGowan uh, blueprint, basically.
Hmm.
But what we're going to face next is similar to shop owners and business owners who have preset things. So no shoes, no service, no shirt, no service, or um, that sort of thing. We're going to have the next pandemic is people going to be adding masks into that. Not pandemic, next phase of this, I guess,
Right.
is, you can't come in the shop without it.
Hmm.
And you can talk to your blue in the face and say it's not law. There is no reason behind it. It doesn't make any logical sense. Um, and yet they're still going to say my shop, my rules, deal with it.
Yep.
So there's still going to be that exclusion point from society for a lot of people. And I'll tell you right now, me included.
Yep.
I won't. I simply will not pander to their stupidity.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what we need is people that are doing what you're doing, I'm doing, and the people listening are doing. You need people to, like, and I keep telling people the most powerful word that we have is no, and that's like to me that's the lost word that people don't realize is that that's a very powerful word, and people have to start realizing that and saying no, like enough is enough. And the scary part is. Uh, I don't see people. I don't know how people haven't got to that point. A lot of people that I talk to, um, don't really see a lot of problems in the like. It's really disturbing when I talk to some people and they know there's problem. Like they know to a certain level, like surface level, there's problems. There's always been problems in the world. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just normal. But they don't really see a lot of the problems that I see, and I find that really shocking. And I just think that I don't want to believe they don't care, but I really do think that's what it is. I just think that they just don't give a shit. To be honest, they're happy in their little bubble.
Yeah.
They're happy in their little corner. Like leave me alone. I'm comfortable, and they don't. And they're not really doing that deep work on themselves and asking the hard questions is what I think.
Yeah, there is that. And there's also, I've been saying it for a little while now, specific to Australia. We've been bred dumb. We have been dumbed down. We're not taught to question, we're taught to parrot. Our
Hmm.
schooling system is abysmal. And I'm going to guess that it's fairly similar in Western countries across the world because we're all in the same spot, basically. Um, so we're taught to parrot. And what they're teaching is getting lower and lower and lower on the baseline. So we're not we're not encouraged to explore and to learn new things and go and try new things. And that's led to a whole one or two generations of people now, as adults existing in society, that see a door that says push and they don't even question it. They
Yeah.
push.
Yeah.
That's what they're taught to do because it's dumb parroting. It's not, oh dear, I wonder if it goes this way. It's so they get locked into that focused mind frame of get up, drink coffee, go to work, feed the husband, pat the dog, send the kids to school, you
Hmm.
know? And it's all stuck in that rinse, wash, repeat
Yeah.
system that gets you locked into some tiny little box somewhere without the ability to even realize that there is more outside of the box.
Yeah.
I'm
And
sure there's a name for what I'm trying to
no,
describe.
you described it perfect, and then they do that by design, 100%. And you're exactly right. That's the lie that they've sold people, is what I tell people. They've sold this lie to people that this is the way to do it, right? Exactly what you said. You get up in the morning, you go to school, you get a great job, you know the cliches. You get the wife or the husband, you get the house with a picket fence, you get some children, and you work,
Yeah.
work, 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 and that's the false bill of goods that they've sold people, and they don't want people realizing that there's definitely another way to do things that they don't want anybody knowing about. And that's where I always tell people where the shadow work on yourself starts. I think our most precious thing that people have to realize is that what we have is our energy, and think of all the energy that you're giving to your company that you're working for, all of that energy every day that you're putting in, and they're sucking your energy and your creative energy right out of you. And think if you turn that into working on yourself and getting out of that system. It's not easy. I've never told people that the work is easy to do this. I get it. They've really boxed us into this a system where it's hard to operate in when you start coming out of the brain fog, I call it. And I mean, I get it. There's Dave, but you got to make some tough decisions when you start becoming conscious and aware.
Conscious and aware. They're the two key words.
Yep.
That's the hardest bit of people who. It's similar to the psyop that we're living in right now. Um, we call it being awake.
Mm-hmm.
What a stupid phrase, but it is. You're aware of what is actually happening in the real world,
Yep.
and you go from, as was described to me quite recently by somebody that we all know here. It was all of a sudden the ears open and the mind open, and it took in things that I was saying and doing, things that other people were saying and doing, and did a little bit of research, and all of a sudden went, holy shit, how the hell am I this old and I didn't know this?
Yep.
You know, I and now it's just absolutely swallowing every bit of information that you can pass on. So it's it's the process of getting your consciousness back. And for some people, I don't think will ever happen. I think they're too far
Right.
gone. To be
I think they're too far into it too. I've run into people like that. I can talk to them and talk to them, and that's another tricky whole thing, which is a tough thing to do, is learning how to talk to people, especially in person, because they, as soon as you start talking natural law or anything like that, then they start giving you the counter arguments, and they're asking, so it's really good to actually go out and talk to people. I've learned, because it helps you uh, kind of deal with people, and because it's one thing to sit on a show and just talk and not really have anybody talking the other way and giving input and stuff like that. It's very different when you go out on the street and start talking to people, or even your family and friends, and start asking them questions, and then you get a real good gauge of where people's conscious level is at.
yeah,
And it's I'm sadly to say it's not there. People are very I just think they're not conscious. That's the only thing I can put it. That's like you said. It's I don't think they're ever going to wake up. They're not even. A lot of people I talk to aren't even willing to take the time to look at new information.
no, they're not,
You know.
because they're happy in their own little world.
Yep.
It works for them. They get up, they're happy.
Yep.
And why does anybody want to upset that balance? I think, okay, random talking off the top of my head here, which is what I do best.
That's all. Yeah.
Um,
It's perfect.
I think if you look at it, those of us that can see what's going on and we've woken up, I would have most likely, and I can pretty much look at it on me too, it got to a point where it just wasn't working. Like the whole matrix just didn't seem to gel. There was something wrong. It didn't feel right. The energy didn't feel right. And it's almost like that whole jolt of the alarm clock to wake you up. And your own brain does it to itself. So, there's some people that their brain that they're just not going to be able to break out of that box.
Right.
A lot of us have, and there's a lot more to come.
Mm-hmm.
But it's getting the brain to your own self to make that determination before you can absorb what we are talking about, and what thousands of people out there every day are
Yep.
putting videos and chats and information out there. You're not going to absorb it until your own brain and your own soul and your own spirit goes, oi, think about it, open up.
Yep.
So that's
And
where, yeah, and that's the double-edged sword, because the shadow work that you have done, and you explain it very, very well, actually. That is a good starting point for that to happen, but they're not going to take that path until after it's happened.
right.
So
Yeah.
it's
And
a catch 20.
it is, and I people are very set. I've learned talking to people too that they're very set in their ways, and I understand that because let's face it, guys, we've all been that person that was just going through life and not thinking and being conscious. I mean, I know I was at one time. I mean, it's very easy to get into that pattern when you're working a job full time and you got I couldn't even imagine. I don't have kids, so I could imagine if I had kids on top of it and you're working, and so where do you have the time to do that? I get it's I'm not saying it like I was saying earlier. It's not an easy thing to do this work and do the shadow work on yourself because you have to ask yourself some very tough questions. And the key is you have to be very honest with yourself. You have to be willing to go into those corners of your psyche and your inner self and start digging through and confronting these things. That's why it's called shadow work. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of people, and as I was saying, I can understand how people are kind of not doing that work because they're so busy, which I always say is by design. They want people like in that state. They either want you in fear or they definitely want people in that state of fear because when you're in that state of fear, you're not consciously thinking. You're reacting. You're not conscious when you're in a fear state. You're just reacting. It's like the reptilian side back of your brain area. You're a reaction state. That's where they want to keep people. So what do they do on the media 24/7? It's always fear. And they jump from one fear to the next. You got the virus and then that stops and then you got a war and then that stops and there'll be another one right after this. They already
Yep.
got it lined in the chamber. They want to keep you in that state. And I had a great somebody today I was talking to describe it perfect. People get comfortable in their little, like you called it, a bubble, and I like that because my friend was explaining. You got somebody sitting out in the shade outside. They're on a beach. They got a nice shady spot. They got their feet in the sand. They're comfortable. Everything's great. They got everything they need. You're comfortable, but do you not want to go and walk on the beach? Like some people are so scared to walk on the beach. Yes, you might trip on something, you might fall in the sand, you might get sunburnt, you might be stepping on stuff like shells and that, cutting your feet up. That's not a comfortable path. It's a rough path. And this is just an allegory, so I mean work with me guys, but I like the way that he said that. Like a lot of people are in that state where they're comfortable and they don't want to start upsetting the cart and doing the work, but you have to start doing this work on yourself or you're just going to be constantly where they
Yep.
want you in that state of fear. And when you start doing this work on yourself, you'd be amazed how the fear lifts. It really
Yep.
does.
Yep. I wholeheartedly agree with that. It just the freedom to own your own self.
Yep.
Ryan commenting in the chat room, and I you actually say it extremely well, better than I do. So can you? Oh, you can't highlight on this, can you? So the first comment was the cultural Marxist psychological warfare that people have endured for the last 50 years has bred cognitive dissonance and a binary mentality of labels.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what, bang on, perfectly said.
Yep.
Um, and the next comment, um, same thing. If we own our own selves, embrace who we are, and put it out there.
Yep.
We are who we are. I'm sorry, people. If you don't like it, you don't have to absorb my energy. You don't have to be in my sphere for
Yep.
any reason.
There's other channels to watch.
End of story.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, that's true. And people have to, you're very right. People have to start finding their own energy. That's a great way to put it. And start realizing that, their value they have. And we're all got great skills in a lot of different, people are talented in so many different ways. And that's a great way. You have to find what you're good at. And I call that finding your calling, right? Like you have to find. I truly believe that we all are here for a certain reason, and we all have different gifts. We all have different talents, which makes to me the world amazing. I'd be quite a boring place if we were all doing the same thing. Um, and people can start doing the great work in so many different ways. You got art. You can do what we're doing, podcasting. You can do it through music. There's so many different ways, but as I keep saying, you have to do the work on yourself first. I think that to me that's the foundation. Is you have to start questioning everything. I've always been somebody, Cass, and I know that you have. I've talked to you so many times. We have great
Yeah,
chats. We have great chats every day. Off.
we talk for hours.
We talk for hours, right? And so I know that you're willing to be. You're like somebody like me. Like you can tear down something that you believe at a moment's notice if something comes along that's more truer, resonates more with you. You're not stuck in your belief systems, and I think belief is a very very dangerous thing. Do you know something or do you believe it because you were told it? And I think a
Exactly.
lot of people are stuck in the belief state. Like I could tell people that, and a great example is I could tell Cass, I live in Canada. Okay, fine, she believes that. But it's a lot different if she starts doing a little bit of research and she starts finding out where I went to school, where I was born, where I grew up. She doesn't believe then, she knows because she done that work. She done some digging and she did the work. And that's kind of where I'm going with this, is that people have to start being willing to tear down and admit that they've been lied to. I think that's the hardest part. You have to admit that
Yeah.
the world as you think you know it is pretty much a lie. And from what the research I've done, it's all bullshit. They're lying to us on
Every-
so many different areas, and you have to be willing to tear that down, absorb new information, and take in the information, be willing to take it in, which people are not even willing to do. I love that about you, Cass, that I can come to you with a video or a podcast or a book or anything, and you're so open to. You're just like, all right, I'll watch it, I'll give it a go, and you're willing to do that work. A lot of people
yeah.
aren't willing to do that. That's a rare thing in this day and age.
Oh, to me, it's all, if there's something to be learned, the day we stop learning is the day we need to be planted 6 foot down,
Might as well. Yep.
you know, because if you're not learning, then you're stagnating. And I've always been one of those, I'll absorb anything, I will look at it, I will assess it. I run things through all information, and that's from a gossip, oh, this is what they're going to do next, to the stuff you send me, to um,
Jamie,
conversation.
everybody. Yeah.
I'll go home and Neil says to me, "Oh, I seen this out on the road today," sort of thing. Everything goes through three filters. One, is it realistic? And if it's not realistic, is it plausible? It goes through the um, definitely proven, definitely unproven. So keep, discard, and the needs more research. And then I put it through my own internal sense, which very, very rarely steers me wrong,
Yeah.
to be honest.
What you're describing is the trivium process, Cass. That's called the
Okay, I
trivium, and I mean,
call it.
it's a trivium. It's a trivium process, and it's the way that people should be taking in information and applying it, but a lot of people don't. And what I mean by the trivium process, and I could use a computer jargon to make sense for people, but look into the trivium. It's very. You can Google it. You'll find information. If anyone wants any videos on the trivium or the process, I can email me. I'll send you the videos to get you
Yeah,
started. But what you're describing is the trivium, which is your first step, if you think of a computer, is you need to take in the data, right?
yeah,
So you bring in the data, your computer brings in the data, which is what you're looking at, and then you got your processor where you're processing the data, and then you have output, right? So you have to be willing to take in new information. And then you have to be willing to process it. You have to be willing to live with it for a while. Don't believe, and I always tell people, don't believe anything I'm saying. Don't believe what Cass is saying. You have to do your own work. I just hope that I spark people's curiosity to look into things like natural law and start digging into that, and to moral relativism and consciousness, all of these things, and uh, all of the things that go under umbrella under that, and look into all the things, good and bad, as I was just saying. And you
yeah,
have to be willing to learn new. A lot of people don't even want to take in new information, and then you have to live with it, process it, see if it works for you, apply it to yourself, and then if it does, then the output. That's what you share out to the world, and you're very willing to do that process. From what I know, you are. You do it all the
yeah.
time.
I do, and I've lived by that for a lot of years. So, um, yes, Tanya, your heart then has to come into sync, and you bang on the money
Ex-
there.
yep.
If it doesn't resonate within yourself, here I go again with all the mystical shit. Um, if it doesn't resonate within yourself, and if it doesn't make a logical sense to you, doesn't have to make logical sense in to somebody else. As long as you can make it make sense, you've got something to work with.
Hmm.
That's that's the base of it for me. If I can't make sense of it, I'm going to discard it until I can either make sense or I can get it proved.
Right. But
So
you're always willing to go back to it though. Like that's the thing. I think a lot of people, they throw the baby out with the bathwater, is everybody's heard that saying a million times. But I think a lot of
yeah,
people, they're learning from somebody or some other somebody else, they're learning through other teachers, and the teacher says something that they don't necessarily agree with, and they throw the whole everything out that the teacher's ever said. It's like, oh,
Yep.
I throw it all out, and I call that, they say, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm the same way. I will look at everything, and like I said, I do that trivium process. I process it, I think about it, I apply it, and I try to bring it into a line. That's what I tell people: is that natural law is the rights that we're given, just being a human, just that's the rule. Natural laws, the laws that are in place by the Creator, and what our goal is to do is to bring our behavior into alignment with natural law the best we can. And the problem is that a lot of people don't even know what rights are. They don't know what natural law is. As soon as you bring up natural law, they kind of go on this whole. They don't know the meaning. Like, that's a problem too. Is that we're up against word magic, is what I call it, where
Yep.
people interpret things different. And so when I bring up natural law, people automatically go to Darwinism. They go to survival of the fittest, and I'm like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about real natural law. And so,
Yep.
I mean, but you have to be willing to take this information in, and at least try to process it and apply it. And a lot of people that I talk to, and I'm sure that you talk to, and the people listening talk to, they're not even willing to listen. Like, as soon as you start going on to something that they don't know anything about, I've seen them, they shut right down.
Mhm.
Yep.
And you can actually physically see it happen too. You can
Oh,
watch
it's
it.
yeah. Yep.
And when mama rolls through them, they're literally just a wall.
Yep.
Not listening, not taking anything in. Anything else you say is null and void, walk away.
Yep.
And which it's safer for people in our position to do just that. I'm not not wasting, I'm not inputting any more of my energy and my time into a lost cause,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's a tough world. It really is. And
And it's
so
tough
many,
work. It's tough work doing this too. I tell people that with the shadow work. I'm like, it's not fun and it's tough work. If you're doing it and you're being honest with yourself, you have to be willing. Like I said, a lot of people have to be willing to admit first that they've been lied to, and
yeah,
some of their beliefs are totally false, and they have to start questioning where those beliefs came from. And
yeah,
shadow work is something I do daily on myself when whether I'm in a room by myself. And I mean, you have to do this in a quiet room. But then again, I've been talking to people, and to be fair, I mean, you don't necessarily have to. I think it's key that you're by yourself for sure, and you're in a good space. But I've talked to
yeah,
people that do that by walking in nature. They'll go for a walk, and I know you walk, and I know you like to
yeah.
dance. You've told me that you like to dance, which is awesome. And you can laugh, man, but I mean that's amazing, Cass. Like, you're actually outside, you're dancing, you're thinking. Like, that is your place where you're doing your thought and your shadow work, and you're
There is that,
outside.
and it's the
Amazing.
energy too. It's the energy to just get things cycled up.
Yep.
You know, and with that, it enables, it opens your mind, it opens your soul. When you're moving and you're flowing and you're like, I can't guess shit, to be honest. I
Right.
just plug my
Yeah, neither
earphones in
can
and
I.
listen to
Yeah.
it.
I didn't
It's
say we
not
I
fun.
didn't
It's not.
I didn't say we were good dancers. I said that
No,
we
no,
like to dance.
no one's ever going to get to say that. But like before I do a show, like this or guesting anywhere or with Jamie on our dailies, I'll go and spend half an hour out in the shed or outside if I can, like on a weekend when there's no one around,
Hmm.
and just connect and let the energy flow and let everything
Yep.
cycle through. Discard the not needed, the negative, the whole, like not not worth keeping in the body and in the brain, so to speak.
Yeah. And
With the base
that's
of shadow work.
yeah, and that's how you start questioning things. And I like I said, I've talked to people that they do it. Either they can be sitting outside or in a room, and it's quiet, and that's
Yeah,
where you confront the thoughts that everyone has in their head. A lot of people, I know, it storms them at nighttime when they're going to sleep, because you're just sitting in bed alone with your thoughts. That's what I'm talking about. When you do shadow work, you start questioning these things, and you can do it.
yeah,
Like I said, I know people that do it by walking in the park. They'll do it riding their bike. They'll, these moments that you're alone, and you have to be willing to, as I keep saying, ask these hard questions, and you have to be brutally honest with yourself. And I think that when people start doing that, to me, that's the whole foundation. When you start doing this journey and you start looking into these things, and then when you have that foundation, and shadow work is something like you do you're doing it your whole life. It's not something you do for a week. and then you're like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm good. You're always questioning things and just and learning more about yourself. I know at least I am, and I think that just people have to start being willing to admit they've been lied to. And I think people have to take the time to start really focusing on themselves because, as we were saying at the beginning, that's what they don't want. They don't
Yeah.
want, they don't, trust me, guys, the elite, whatever you want to call them, the elite, I call them master psychologists because I know that's what they are. And they're
Oh,
and
no.
they're and they're yeah, and they're evil. They're evil as hell
Yeah.
too. Like, I mean, you're dealing with evil master psychologists that know humanity so well, and the last thing they want is people waking up and going inner,
Yeah.
going in. And then the thing they want, then they don't want that, and they don't want people that are conscious connecting and talking and doing what we're doing, doing this. We need more people doing this, talking.
We
And
do. We do.
there's not enough people, and I know a lot of people, like, and I was one of those people where I didn't know technology just less than a year ago. I didn't, and I don't like technology, guys. Believe me when I say that. I'm not a fan of it. I mean, I use it for the right reasons. I had my phone before I did all of this, and I would do research on documentaries, like I know you do, Cass. And
Yep.
but you have to learn this technology to turn it against them and use it in the right way, because that's how they're attacking humanity. Is how, through media, through social media, through all of that. Have to learn
Yep.
the
I agree.
technology side.
You do. And I'm no different to you, believe me, until like I was saying yesterday, it was August last year.
Yep.
And I had never done anything like this before in my life, ever.
Mm-hmm.
And look at us now. Look at
Exactly.
where you are. You put some awesome, you call them documentaries and interviews. You're putting awesome work out there. And it's interesting and it's important and it's necessary these days.
Oh, it is.
So,
It is.
you
Thank
know,
you.
yeah, you'd be forgiven for thinking. I thought you've been doing it for years, to be honest.
Yeah.
So there,
Well, yeah, but that's as I was saying earlier. That's the great thing is that I do admire about you is that you're at least willing. I know I can, like I was saying, I can bring anything to you, and you will at least give it a look. And I'm not.
yeah,
I've never told you, Cash, you have to agree with this. You have to believe it. This is the way. I always just say, what are your thoughts? And I think that if people just did that and was open, what you can watch anything and you don't have to believe it.
yeah,
You don't have to agree with it even, but at least what annoys me the most is, and that's what I'm trying to say, is what annoys me the most is when people are not even willing to make an effort to look at something new. They're so set in their ways. They're like diamond, like they will not budge. And
yeah,
it drives me crazy. It's like you won't even look at this. Like you're already you're putting it down and you haven't even spent 1 minute with it. And to me, that's just,
mhm,
I don't understand that. How do you not want to at least watch it or read it to disagree or have a conversation? How can we have a conversation if we're not on?
yeah,
You have to at least watch the information, and then if you don't agree with it, I'll go there with you. We watch the same show, watch the same
yeah,
documentary, and then we may just totally disagree with what I agree with, and then we can have that discussion. But how do we have a discussion if nobody's willing to even put the work in to know what they're talking about or to explore it even?
yeah, exactly. And you people need to unlearn. I've said this a few times as well. I think we need to unlearn everything that we've been taught.
Yep.
Um, we really need to go back and start from the beginning
Mm-hmm.
and just let ourselves open the brain up, open the body up, and reabsorb. You know, it, forget all of the crap, like the external stuff that we don't need. You know, sure, it's nice to have all this fancy stuff, and like I work stupid hours.
You do.
Um,
You really do.
what did you call me the other day? A vampire clown. Um, but like I do that for a purpose at the moment, and I'm doing it for a reason, and it's necessary for where we're at in this point. But you don't need all of that, you know. If
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the people who work for us relying on us, and if I didn't have such a not demanding but a loyal, I guess, customer base, I could quite easily walk out of here, shut the whole lot down, walk out,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I don't need it. I do it because I enjoy it.
Yep. That's a big
Stupid, whatever.
difference. Big difference, Cass. Are you doing?
Um,
Think of and that people have to be honest when they ask themselves that question too. What
mm,
you're doing in your life, your job right now, whatever that job is, do you love that job? Like, do
mhm.
you get energy from that job? Do you love it? And you got to be honest with yourself. This is where people don't want to be honest because I've asked people, and I know they're miserable in their job. I hear about it all the time when we're not talking about serious stuff. They're complaining about their job 24/7. They hate it. And then but then they lie to themselves and go, oh, I like it. And you have to be honest. Like, are you spending time doing something that you are just doing it to make ends meet? Or are you
Yeah.
doing something that you truly truly love? Like, I love doing interviews. I don't This is not taxing to me at all. I enjoy doing it, and that's how I
Yeah.
know that I'm doing something that is right, because it's something I very much enjoy. How many people are doing jobs every day that they hate, that they want nope?
Uh, yeah.
Everyone.
Bold
Well,
combination.
lots. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the tattoo work.
Yep.
You get such a buzz out of, yeah, there you go. You
Yep.
get such a buzz out of that. And like the talking to people. So, it's what you're meant to do. It's part of who you are at a soul level.
Yep.
Um, Greg, I basically get paid to help people. Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. If we enjoy what we're doing, let me turn that around. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, stop doing it. End of story.
Hmm.
Change, do what you have to do to change your situation. If you don't enjoy doing it and it's draining you, make the changes.
Yep.
The hardest step is that first one.
Yep.
So,
And
you
there's
know,
going
we,
it's going to take sacrifice. That's why, as we were saying earlier, I've never said to anybody that doing the work on yourself is going to be easy. I've never
no,
you I nobody could ever say that I've said that. It is hard work, and it's going to take sacrifice too. And are you willing to sacrifice that? I mean, we're here on this planet for such a short time. When you really think about it, I think about this a lot. We're here such a short time, and you think about all the energy that we spend into stuff that doesn't matter. As you said earlier, it doesn't matter. The stupid
mhm,
shit that people are dwelling on, it doesn't matter. It serves no purpose other than to drain your energy and make you feel horrible and all the negative things that come along with that. But are you willing to sacrifice, as you said, stop doing what you don't like doing to find something that your true purpose? And you're going to learn that true purpose by getting in touch with yourself, by bringing
mhm,
yourself into harmony, right? And you start getting everything working, your heart, your body, your heart, your mind, your soul, everything working is one unit and not scattered everywhere. And then find something that you're good at. As I said, everybody's got a talent. I don't care who you are. You may not think you have a talent. You do. Somewhere you do.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you have to be willing
absolutely.
to, yeah, you have to be willing to do that. And a lot of people are not, because and I get what you're saying, Cassie. I understand that it's not an easy thing, and that people, we're living in a world that is the way that it is, and we're not going to ever change that world, because for the people that are running the world's running perfect in their eyes. This is exactly how they want the world to run.
Yeah,
So we're
whereas
never
we're
gonna, yeah,
that it is.
yeah, they love it. Like, the people that are running the world, the elites, whatever you want to call them, we'll call them elites. I don't think they are truly elite, but call them that. The world is working amazing in their eyes. So it's never gonna, you're not gonna change it from within like that. As soon as you go against the system, you watch what they come at you with. And so you're not going to change it that way. We have to stop trying to change things on the outside and realize that it starts within us. And we have to
Yeah,
start doing the changes on ourselves, and then you go forward bringing it out into the world. And I think
yeah,
that's the step that people are missing, in my opinion.
yeah, I agree. And the one, I take it a little bit further. We need, like we were saying earlier, we need the connection with nature, the
Hmm.
connection with earth,
With
and the
one
connection
another. With one another.
with one another, the connection with spirit. And take that however it works for everybody in your own circumstances. Greg and I've had this conversation a couple of times, I think. Whether you follow the organized religions or whether you follow the older religion, or whether you're like me and you just don't, I don't put my trust in anything of the sort. I have it with spirit.
Hmm.
That's what I draw from, and that's where it comes from. And once you've got that connection, you'll find yourself spread your wings, and it becomes a lot easier to just go, you know what? I need to do this.
Yep. Yep.
Hmm.
And it's true. I definitely don't have all the answers. I never would claim to, but I want people to think. I like to make people think and to start questioning things. And we do live in a world that is very materialistic. Very, it's everybody's got to have the newest gadgets, the biggest house, the all of this stuff to me, which I've never put merit in, anyways. I mean, I don't need the best of everything. I don't care if, I'm happy I have a roof over my head. I really don't care if I have a big house and 10 cars and all of that stuff. And I know that that's the world that we live in. And they've made it to the point now, especially now with the way food, I know where I'm living, that the prices of gas are going through the roof. Food's even going up
Oh,
big time. I've noticed
yep,
that in my area, which is a little disturbing. I got to admit, even for myself, I'm well aware of what they're doing, but it's still disturbing when you actually start seeing it in happening. And I see
yep,
the food cost where I'm living. I don't know about where you're living or people in the U.S. and that, but I know where I'm living. The food is going up drastically in the last few months, especially. And so I know the world that we live in, and it's not easy. But I think, as you said, once you start doing the work on yourself, trying to bring yourself into alignment and with natural law and with morality and consciousness, I think that people will see that that fog kind of lifts and you start
yep,
finding your purpose and then aligning. It's going to may take a while. I don't think it'll happen overnight. You got to start aligning your way to going down to that path, and at least starting the process of getting onto that path that you want to be on. If you want to be whatever it is, you want to be a painter, you want to be whatever it is, musician, name, put fill in the blank. At least get on the
yep,
path to doing that.
yep. Follow your talents. Follow
Yep.
your talents. That's probably your talent and your guide. You we're all here for a purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
in the shit show world that we're living in right now, we how can I put it? We're all here in this now, in this state, in the people, the beings that we are. We're all here for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not by accident. So now is the time to fully grow into and realize who we are and what we can do on an individual and a collective.
Mm-hmm.
The tribe that we've built.
Yeah.
You're part. We're part of a connection, a group now that it's intense. You look at all these people that are coming along just because we've come up doing this. How amazing is that? We've got all these like-minded people around us. What can we do when we put our collective souls together?
Right. Exactly. And the people that, and
Mm.
as we were saying earlier, you have to start putting it out there. We need, because that's the problem, is that we're up against, as I said, they're using social media, they're using every form that they can, and they're using every trick they can do to keep people in the state that we're in this fear state. And I always tell people the first thing you got to do, for the love of God, is turn your TV off and get away from that. I mean, I'm not saying, and I always tell people, I'm not saying you can't ever watch a movie or a TV show or something like that. I've never said that. I believe that there's time to have fun, for sure, and do listen to music, do whatever you like doing, and watching a movie if you want, by all means. But realize once you have to realize what they're using. The TV's designed for that, and then especially when you start looking at the social media that they're throwing at us, as I was saying earlier, they want us in that state of fear. And if you're honest with yourself and you look at and especially like the commercials that they got on now. I was watching a TV at a friend's house, and I could not believe the commercials that were on TV. They got a pill for everything. I'm telling you, you got an itchy forehead. There's a pill for it. Don't worry, they'll get it for you. And I'm just like, wow. So I think people have to start. I really like to see people turn the TV off and start spending a little more time. And it sounds funny with themselves. Get to know yourself. And I mean, that sounds crazy, but I mean, really, how often do you spend time just with yourself and asking yourself the hard questions and acknowledging all our flaws? We all got flaws, that's for sure. And acknowledging them and being comfortable with them. And I just think that, and people have to start doing that. I would like to see that people actually start, as we were saying, doing the shadow work and connecting and realizing just how powerful they are and their energy is.
Yep.
You know.
And just draw, draw from within.
Yep.
You nourish yourself, you will nourish those around you, and in turn, you'll nourish the world.
Yep. You have to start. It starts within, guys. I know that for a fact because I do put it into practice And
Yeah.
until I was doing that, I was I know for me, and we're probably going over. Keep me on track here with time, Cass, because I know we're only
I
doing
just
an
checked
hour.
it. We've just hit the hour.
All right, if we go a little over, I'm not going to complain. I don't think you will. A couple minutes over, but I just wanted to let people know that, as I was saying, at one time I was one of those people pointing my fingers out and blaming everybody else in the world for what was going on in my life, and I think a lot of people are in that way too. That they're not. You have to stop pointing fingers at everything external and point them at yourself, because believe it or not, you have a great deal to do with what's going on in your life at this moment. Like you're a creator of it. So I think people have to start realizing that and looking inwards. That's a great way to put it, I think.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. The
Yeah,
only caveat I would add into that would be we need to accept ourselves as well.
100%.
So if we can focus on ourselves and learn who we are and lay the fault within for what we are truly at fault for,
Mm-hmm.
but we have to um, we have to mitigate that because it's very very easy for people these days, or people full stop actually, to fall into the depression, depressed state,
Mm-hmm.
feeling, soul, yes, soul, where it all feels like it's all too heavy and it's all on you. You know, it's my fault. I've done this and I've done that, and might only be minor things like I've just put that there and that fell off. You know, but it all adds up. You need to be able to mitigate that out. You know, accept who you are and your faults, but then either fix it and move on or discard it as a fault.
Yep.
Find the good in everything.
Yep. Well, think of all the baggage that people are carrying around, right, on their shoulders. I always think of that. How much stuff are people carrying around that they don't need to carry? And I mean,
Absolutely.
and once you start looking in on yourself and you start dealing with it, and for me that was a game changer. Is when I really started doing the internal work on myself, and asking the hard questions, and getting in touch with myself and my beliefs, and that a lot of that went away. And I agree, though, you can't be too hard on yourself either. You have to be real and honest, but don't. I would never say keep beating yourself up over it. You know, the past is the past, right? I mean, you're never going to change it no matter how much you beat yourself up. But the great point
No.
is that you're addressing it now, and you're confronting it now, and that's what's going to make the difference, I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. That's yeah, one thing that I've lived by for a long time. You
Yeah.
cannot change the past. You literally you cannot. There's no physical way possible. I can take back those words I just said. It's a measure of our own character and our own strength of character in how we conduct ourselves in relation to. I can't change a lot of crap that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Or none of us can. You know, you can't. Nobody can. But it's how you accept it, deal with it, and move on from it.
Yep. Learn
Is
from it.
measure of character. If
Learn.
you want to sit to a corner and cry because you lost a dog 20 years ago, or you know, you had three siblings that you didn't like, sort of thing. If you want to sit in a corner and cry, you're going to get nowhere. End story.
Yep.
Whereas if you can look at it and go, well, you know what, I didn't like it. It is what it is. Pay my respects to the memory and move on.
Yep.
Soon you can do that, the better off you're going to be.
Yep. Yep. And learn from it. That's a great part too, right? When you start dealing with it, you start learning from it, and then it all kind of comes in together. But the point of this whole, I like this hour that we were talking, is that I hope that it'll make people at least start doing that. Just start small. I started doing like 15 minutes of quiet time with myself every day, and I would do that when I was outside, or if I'm in a room by myself. I've even sat in a mirror and stared at myself and confronted myself in a mirror, and
Yep.
just quiet by myself. No phones going, no nothing, in a quiet room, or you can do it wherever you're comfortable. If it's a walk or a bike ride, as I was saying, sitting outside in nature, and even if you just do it for 15 minutes and just listen to your inner self and start asking questions, it gets
Yep.
easier. It's the best I can say. So I think that's a great way to kind of wrap it up. But I had a
Pretty
great
much.
I had a great first hour with you, Kaz. It's awesome.
It was. It was.
You know,
Considering we had our test run yesterday, so this is actually number two, but it's really our number one.
yeah. Yesterday was us trying all the new things and trying to make sure everything worked and setting up the scene where we're side by side because usually everyone knows that my interviews I kind of got it laid out a bit different. So it was a fun.
Yeah.
It was fun though. We talked for like an hour and a half yesterday, just
Sure.
doing a fun little like yeah, it was just a test run that we did, and some of the people in chat now were actually here with us.
That was,
You know,
that
we
was the
had
best part.
yeah,
Started coming in.
I was surprised. Yeah, I was surprised anyone came in either. I was like, wow. But yeah, I mean, you have to start somewhere, and I, you know, I really am appreciative guys for joining us tonight, joining cast tonight. We're gonna do this every Saturday, same
Yeah.
time. We're gonna do it. You know, we're gonna just talk about different things and bring up different things that I think is important and casting is important.
hmm And what, just to give perspective, we sort of had we started this concept of we're in a couple of things each and just see how it gels,
Yep.
discuss. So point A, point B.
Yep. It,
Um,
we didn't
we
even.
haven't touched on anything we talked about.
I was just gonna say
No
that.
one.
I was gonna say that we each had a couple talking points, guys. And I said to Cass, "You bring two things, and I'm gonna bring two things." And we did not touch on one of them for this conversation. Just to let you guys know. So we will do it next Saturday.
I think we'll probably end up doing a similar setup this week.
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's funny, but I like the organic conversations like this where they go where they want to go. And
Yeah.
I think this is a great foundation, actually, right? I mean, let people know that you need this foundation. You have to start doing the work on yourself, and then we can get into bigger conversations as the weeks go on and start asking and talking about some of these hard things and
Yeah.
hard topics. That's what I want to talk about, stuff that matters and the stuff that makes differences in people's
hmm
lives. And so, yeah, I mean, I was supposed to be talking about government and how because I was telling Cass off air that a lot of people think that we're going to vote our way out of the problems in the world, and I keep trying to tell people that that's never worked in the past. It's not working now, and it's not going to work in the future because it can't just by the very design of government and what it's based in. It's not it's not going to work, and so that's what we were going to talk about. But we can do that next Saturday unless something else comes up.
Well, it probably will, because my take on that was what a bunch of children they all are.
Yep.
Like, seriously, I know better behaved 3-year-old kids than what half of the politicians of this country.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So,
That was going to be your topic too. Is that how the politicians are children that
well,
we're dealing with? It's true when you start looking at their mentality too.
yep, you just want to throw them a bunch of toys and say, here, go play in the corner,
Yep.
let the adults do the adult thing. You
Yep.
go play.
I agree. I totally agree. I don't like I said. If we start talking about what we were supposed to talk about today, it'll be another hour, guys. Trust me, because I when I get talking about government and what they're doing to the people of this world is just I get infuriated. So I mean we'll do that next week when we got time to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But is there
That's
anything you want to say, Cass, before we go? I'm gonna try to keep this. Like I said, we went a little over an hour. I'm sorry, guys, but we're gonna try to keep it. Maybe in the future we'll do it longer. But this is just like I said. Cass and I are just stretching our wings here and figuring things out. If you guys think we should go 2 hours, let Cass or I know. I know for me, you
yeah,
guys know my email, guys. You guys, I'm not hard to get a hold of. It's beenthinkingpodcast@gmail.com. And you can email me
yeah.
anytime if there's any topics you want Cass and I to touch on or to look into. You can email me, and if Cass wants to give her email, that's up to her, but I'm sure she'd be open to it.
I've got, well, actually, everybody that's in chat right now has either got my email, my contact, my phone number,
There you go.
or has my Telegram. So, people, it's all good. Throw it
Okay.
at us. Throw it
Yeah.
at us.
So
Come on, settle down.
uh, and everybody knows Southern Truth, where you do a show 5 days a week with Jamie. So you guys are
Yeah.
doing great stuff there. You guys are once in a while you're on YouTube, but mostly now on Rumble. So
Yeah.
for anybody that doesn't know that, check them out. They do it like I said, Monday to Friday, and they cover
Yep.
so many different topics. They're a lot more open to like things they can talk about on Rumble. And so check them
Yes.
out, guys. Cass and Jamie do a great job. They're talking about a lot of things that are going on in the world, Australia. So check them out,
Yeah.
guys. I mean, it's a great show.
We do. We cover anything and everything is on the table for what we do over there.
Yep.
We do keep it off YouTube because YouTube likes slapping down people,
Yep.
and we feel like we're a little bit too old to have our wrists slapped every week.
Oh,
So we're meant to
exactly.
promote
Yeah.
most of our shows. So
Yeah. You gotta learn out on YouTube how to use code words and little ways around it. So yeah, I mean that's hard for me too. I gotta be very careful when we're on here what we talk about because I'm used to being on radio where I can say anything and any topic I
yeah,
can talk about openly. But then I come here and I'm like, okay, I gotta tone it back a little bit. But I think that people listening have a good. I mean, the people I've talked to in your guys' chat are very aware of what's going on in the world and are very on the right path, in my opinion. I really do enjoy chatting with them.
yeah, absolutely. I have an absolute ball. I really do.
Yep, yep.
So
So I
um,
thank you guys so much. I know from I can say it for myself and Cass. Thank you so much for joining us
yeah,
for our first show. Technically, our first show. If you want to get
yeah.
picky, it's second, but our first official show. And we'll be here next Saturday, same time. So it'll be Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What time is that where you are, Cass?
Yep. So that's for Canada, US.
Yep.
For Australia, that's 9 a.m. West Australian time. So add your hour and a half for Central and your 2 hours for East Coast, and you'll find us right here.
That's perfect. So I'm thank you so much, Kaz, for joining me tonight. I had a great time, and the hour flew by. I think we're gonna have a lot of great talks on here. Looking
Yeah,
forward. Like I said, email me or Kaz if you guys want to either come on the show or bring us some information or let us know what we want to talk about, and we'll definitely address it. Would love that.
absolutely. Absolutely. Feedback is always welcome.
All
And
right.
I'm noting the requests for longer time here. I'm seeing quite a few comments there on that. So we'll take that into consideration off air.
For sure, for sure. So thanks, guys, and we will see you next Saturday.
Bless. Love you all.
Take care, guys.
Are you interested in the paranormal? Murder mysteries, cryptocurrency, and thought-provoking interviews?
Done. Well, that was fun. I see a couple of them. Yeah,